Demonology Warlocks specialise in summoning the hordes of hell to do their bidding and take down their enemies. And I'm going to show you how to play it in the War Within Season 1. It's going to be very, very beginner friendly, but I'm also going into enough depth that veterans are going to get everything they need as well, so you can all hit the ground running in the War Within at level 80. Let's start off with the stat priority. First and foremost, intellect, intellect, intellect. This is your primary stat. How do we get it? A higher and higher eye level or item level of gear is going to give you more. This here is the secondary or general stat priority that you should loosely be following. Generally, getting a higher eye level of gear is always going to be a power increase, and I would only actually say to really look deeply into your secondary stats if you're doing very high level content, or if you're comparing two items of the same eye level. Looking at the secondary stats then, haste is actually going to increase how fast you attack and how fast you can cast your spells. Critical strike, of course, adding an extra chance to do more damage. Mastery, which for us Demonology Warlocks in the War Within is Master Demonologist, and it's basically going to increase the damage done by all of your demons, which we are going to, of course, be summoning. And versatility very simply increases damage done, it increases any healing done, and it's also simultaneously going to reduce any damage taken. Now that we've been through those, let's take a quick look at our set bonus in Season 1, which is the Rites of the Hexflame Coven for Demonology Warlocks. Your primary demon deals 5% increased damage, and your Shadow Bolt damage is increased by 50%, which is huge. Full set, Shadow Bolt has a chance to enrage your primary Felguard, one of your demons, increasing the damage of their next Legion Strike, one of their attacks, by 300%. So quite a simple set bonus we're getting then. If you don't know what these spells are, or you don't know these demons yet, you will shortly in this video, because I'll be covering it in full. But yeah, they haven't gone too crazy, the set bonus for Demonology this season, and I kind of quite like that, because a lot has, changed, especially with the introduction of hero talents. Now moving on to some of the utilities and defensives that we actually have available to us as a Warlock. This left action bar up here is things that we're more doing to our enemy, and the ones on the right are more things we're doing to enhance combat or life for us and our allies. This isn't an absolutely extensive list, but it's the ones that I think you should be most aware of and that are going to be the most useful to you. So first up on the left here, we've got Fear. Strikes fear into the enemy, disorient them for 20 seconds, and damage has a chance to cancel that effect. So they're going to run in fear when we use fear. We then have a few curses that we can use, and depending on the talents, etc. you might have different ones. Curse of Tongues forces the target to speak in demonic tongues, increasing the casting time of all their spells by 30% for a minute. We've also got Exhaustion, reducing their movement speed by 50% for 12 seconds, and the Satyr increases the time between enemies' attacks by 20% and the casting time of all spells by 30% for 2 minutes. And these are different curses we can put on our enemy to hinder their combat prowess. Going over to the right-hand side, we have things that we can do to help our allies, including creating a soul well. Now, this is a kind of multi-purpose version. When you click this soul well, you're going to gain health stones. Your allies can click this to get health stones. And I imagine it's like a healing potion, basically, they can use. You can also just create a health stone on its own. You can see here it restores 25% health. So soul well is one that you can click and your allies can get some before you go into combat, or the health stone just if you just want to make one for yourself. Dark Pact is another one that's really interesting. It's going to sacrifice 20% of your current health to shield you for 200% of that sacrificed health, plus an additional amount for 20 seconds. And you can use it if you are suffering from movement impairing effects. So if someone's tried to slow you down and then, slow you down, then beat you down, you can use Dark Pact while that is happening. So we're going to sacrifice 20% of health to then actually shield ourselves for a huge amount larger than that. We also have Demonic Gateway. This is amazing. So I can put one here. I can't use it here. I'm going to jump off this building. Okay, well, I can't show you, apparently. But basically, it's going to create a Demonic Gateway between two locations, and you can teleport. So let's say you're trying to get around enemies, you're trying to cross a bridge, whatever you're doing, wherever it may be, just getting around, the kind of arena that you're in, Demonic Gateway is going to be really good for you and your allies to be able to do that. Unending Breath, probably not going to use this very much in combat, but I just thought I'd let you know about it. Allows an ally to breathe underwater and increases their swim speed. And this is a really interesting one, Soul Burn. It's going to consume a soul shard. So you can see here on my UI, there's these little purple icons. These are soul shards. And some of your spells are going to generate soul shards in your rotation, and then we can spend them. So what Soul Burn does is it consumes a soul shard, unlocking secret powers of your spells. So your Demonic Circle teleport, so your demonic from your Demonic Gateway, it increases your movement speed by 50% and makes you immune to snares and roots, speeding that up. Demonic Gateway can be cast instantly, so you don't have to do a 1.8 second cast on here. Drain life. Gain an absorb shield equal to the amount of healing done for 30 seconds. The shield cannot exceed 30% of your maximum health. So we do have an ability called Drain Life here. Draining life from your target, causing shadow damage and healing you for 500% of the damage done. Basically, you're then going to get an absorb shield if you use Drain Life after using Soul Burn. Health Funnel restores more health. Health Stone increases the healing of Health Stone by 30% and increases your maximum health for a short duration as well. So it basically just enhances a lot of your utility spells, and that is Soul Burn, and that is fantastic as well. Again, not an extensive list. You're not going to be using these spells all the time, but it's just really useful to know the kind of utilities and defensives that we do have available to us. So now on to the fun bit, which of course is the rotation. There's a lot of spells in the Demonology Rotation this season in the War Within, but don't let it overwhelm you. We're taking you through it in a what, when, why kind of mantra. What are we using? When are we using it? Why are we using it? We are, of course, using a lot of demons. No shock to anyone there, I hope. So we've got our Power Siphon here on a 30-second cooldown. Instantly sacrifice up to 2 wild imps, generating 2 charges of demonic core that cause Demon Bolt to deal 30% additional damage. Then we've got our Shadow Bolt. This is going to generate a soul shard, and you can see here we can have up to 5 soul shards. Some spells will use some soul shards, and some spells will spend them. Then we have Grimoire Felguard. Summon a Felguard who attacks the target that deals 45% increased damage, and they will stun and interrupt the target when summoned. Then, of course, we've got our Shadow Bolts, and we're going to be using these at multiple points in the rotation. We can summon a Charhound to fight for us. And if you ever see anything spoken about a Vile Fiend here, this is actually replaced with our Charhound. And if you're ever not sure about anything like that, like if you hear someone talking about Vile Fiend and you think, well, where is it? It's in my spellbook. You can actually search it down here. Then we have our Dreadstalkers. We can summon those and make them, attack for us as well. A Demon Bolt, centering a fiery soul of a fallen demon, and that will generate 2 soul shards. Hand of Gul'dan, calling down a demonic meteor full of imps which burst out on the target, dealing Shadow Flame damage on impact to all enemies within 8 yards, and summoning up to 3 wild imps, based on soul shards consumed. And then we've got our Demonic Tyrant. This is going to empower all of the demons that we've summoned, so we want to do this at the end. Summon a Demonic Tyrant to increase the duration of your Dreadstalkers, Vile Fiend, Felguard, and up to 15 of your Wild Imps. Your Demonic Tyrant increases the damage of your affected demons by 15% while also damaging your target. We've got Demonic Strength, which is a cooldown, infusing your Felguard with Demonic Strength and commanded to charge your target and unleash a Fellstorm that will deal a lot of damage. And then this is Implosion. We're only going to use this in AoE situations, multiple target. Demonic Forces suck all of your Wild Imps towards the target and then cause them to explode, dealing Shadow Flame damage to everyone in 8 yards. So when are we going to use these spells then? Well, before we go into combat, we can use Power Siphon, instantly sacrificing our imps, and we're going to get this demonic core stacks, 2 of them. The cast time of Demon Bolt is reduced completely, and Demon Bolt damage is increased. Then we're going to cast Shadow Bolt, then get our Felguard out, use Shadow Bolt again, and then call out our Charhound, then use our Shadow Bolt again, and call out our Dreadstalkers. Then we can use our Demon Bolt. After that, we're going to use our Hand of Gul'dan. This is pretty much like kind of the opener, but also the general priority that we are going to follow. If you do have multiple targets, then you do use Demon Bolt on a second target as well, so that we can spread here our Wither. And that is from our our talents, that is something that it's going to be putting on here. As you can see, they're suffering Shadow Flame damage over X amount of seconds. Now you can see here that Hand of Gul'dan will use 1 to 3 soul shards, and you don't really want to overcap your soul shards. You can see I've got a maximum at 5 here. So when we use Hand of Gul'dan, it will use up to 3 of them. And you can see now, oh my goodness gracious me, there's demons everywhere, loads of crazy stuff happening, and now we have Infernal Bolt instead of Shadow Bolt. And that is here. So you saw that demon that was summoned. Well, that's because of our Diabolist hero talents, which we are going to be using in both Raiding and Mythic Plus. So Mother of Chaos, the demon you just saw, empowers your next Shadow Bolt to become Infernal Bolt, hurling a bolt enveloped in infernal flames into the abyss, dealing massive fire damage to your enemy target and generating some soul shards. So if you see that happen, that is why. It's because of the hero talents we are taking. And with this hero talents, we will be summoning Pit Lords and Mother of Chaos, etc. It's really, really freaking awesome, okay? Before your demons expire, so once they're all out, that is when you then want to summon your Demonic Tyrant, because remember, it's going to empower all of your demons. So make sure that you get your demons out before you then summon your Demonic Tyrant. The Demonic Tyrant will not be as useful if it can't obviously empower your demons. We also have Ruination here, sometimes being procced from Hand of Gul'dan as well. And then we've got our Demonic Strength here. You do want to use your Power Siphon on cooldown, as well as all of your other summon demons. You're going to be wanting to use these on cooldowns, trying to time them so they're all up with your Demonic Tyrant would be the best bet. Using any procs on Demon Bolt here, and making sure that you're spending at least, well, not at least, make sure you have at least 3 soul shards to spend on your Hand of Gul'dan to get the maximum out of it, but do not overcap on your soul shards. If you're wondering about Wild Imps coming out, there's the Inner Demons talent. You passively summon a Wild Imp to fight for you every 12 seconds, so they will be coming out passively for you. Shadow Bolt and Demon Bolt deal 2% additional damage per demon you have summoned, so again, more demons, more damage will be doing. And when your imps actually expire or die, so whenever they, are killed in whatever way, your other demons are inspired and deal more damage as well. So that's why we're using the cycling of imps quite a lot in this rotation. And then we've got Doom. This is a really interesting talent here. When Demon Bolt consumes a demonic core, it inflicts impending doom upon the target, dealing shadow damage to any enemies within 10 yards of its target. Or when removed, consuming a demonic core reduces the duration of doom by 2 seconds. Your Dreadstalkers also deal 50% increased damage while your Vile Fiend is active. Again, it's all quite a symbiotic relationship with your demons, and you want them all up as much as possible. And that is why we're kind of trying to use them together, etc. And then again here, more symbiotics. Each soul shard you spend on Hand of Gul'dan increases the damage of your next call Dreadstalkers by 2%. So again, Hand of Gul'dan is also increasing the damage of your demons. But that is pretty much the rotation. I will be showing you the hero talents and how they're affecting it in a lot more detail in a second. So again, we're going to be using our Power Siphon on cooldown, cycling in our Shadow Bolts here, getting our demons out, and then empowering them with our Summon Tyrant, using our Demon Bolt procs, and when we've got 3 or more soul shards, using our Hand of Gul'dan, and also using your Demonic Strength on cooldown as well to infuse our Felguard, etc. And in an AoE situation at the bottom, we are going to use Implosion. The rotation is pretty much the same in Raiding as it is in Mythic Plus. This here is the raid build. If it's an AoE situation, use Implosion at the end. If it's a single target situation, don't use Implosion. It's pretty much the same rotation. If we do go over into the Mythic Plus build, Diabolist is staying the same. It's only really a few choice talents we're changing. Flame Touch increases the attack speed of your Dreadstalkers. Antaran Armaments, your Felguard deals additional damage, and Soul Strike now deals 25% damage to nearby enemies. And I can't pronounce these. Your Felguard deals more damage and takes less damage, etc. And Dreadlash here, when your Deadstalkers charge into battle, their attack now hits all targets within 8 yards. We're basically just making it a bit more AoE focused, but with Hand of Gul'dan and Implosion, etc., it pretty much already was fine for that anyway. So for this Demonology build, we're going with Diabolist. Basically, the defeat of the Legion left many powerful demons unbound. Diabolists command greater demons once thought to be uncontrollable. Gosh, what risky behaviour we are getting into. So it starts off with Diabolic Ritual. Spending a soul shard on a damaging spell grants Diabolic Ritual for 20 seconds. While that ritual is active, each soul shard spent on a damaging spell reduces its duration. When Diabolic Ritual expires, you gain Demonic Art, causing your next Hand of Gul'dan to summon an Overlord, Mother of Chaos, or Pit Lord that unleashes a devastating attack against your enemies. So TLDR then, when the Diabolic Ritual expires, we're going to gain Demonic Art, and then our next Hand of Gul'dan is actually going to summon a Mega Demon, you know, the big dinner lady demons, a Pit Lord or a Overlord, which is actually insane for Demonology. I think it is so cool that we can do this. On the left, we've got Cloven Souls. Enemies damaged by your Overlord have their souls cloven, increasing damage taken by you and your pets. Cool, passive, I like it. Annalyn's Bellow. Howl of Terror cooldown is reduced by 15 seconds and the rage is increased. Or Soul Etch Circles. You always gain the benefit of Soul Burn when casting Demonic Circle. Teleport. This is a really great movement, kind of movement enhancing ability. I was going to say movement speed increase, but technically it's teleporting, so it's not. But it is actually going to increase your movement speed by 50%, making you immune to Snare. So actually it is kind of doing that because of the Soul Burn effect. Anyway, just ignore me for a second. Flames of Zoroth. Fire damage increased and damage dealt by your demon is increased. Pretty passive there. In the middle, we've got Touch of Rancora. Demonic Art increases the damage of your Hand of Gul'dan and reduces its cast time. So you can wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, get that Hand of Gul'dan out. Bloody hell. A poet. Infernal Machine. Spending soul shards on damaging spells while your Demonic Tyrant is active decreases the duration of the Diabolic Ritual by an additional 1 second. Basically just getting through things faster. Abyssal Dominion. Summon Demonic Tyrant is empowered, dealing increased damage and increasing damage of your demons. Cool. More damage, more demon damage there. Secrets of the Coven. If you get a Mother of Chaos, it empowers your next Shadow Bolt to become an Infernal Bolt instead. What does that Infernal Bolt do? It hurls a bolt enveloped in the infernal flames of the abyss, dealing fire damage to your enemies and generating 3 soul shards. Basically, your next Shadow Bolt, when empowered into Infernal, will do a load of damage and generate some soul shards. Another option here, I like to go for Infernal Vitality. Unending Resolve heals you for 30% of your maximum health over 10 seconds. Gloom of Nafraza. Hand of Gul'dan deals increased damage for each soul shard spent. More soul shards spent on Hand of Gul'dan equals more damage. And lastly, Ruination. Summoning a Pit Lord causes your next Hand of Gul'dan to become Ruination. So it's basically, Diabolist into Hand of Gul'dan, summon those lords into Ruination. Ruination, call down a demon-infested meteor from the depths of the Twisting Nether. Honestly, this hero talent is insane. Dealing huge chaos damage on impact to all enemies within 8 yards, and the target and summoning 3 wild imps. Damage is reduced beyond 8 targets. It is literally phenomenal. I absolutely love the Ruination hero talent. It is insane. And that is it. That is Diabolist. So it's not really changing a rotation at all. I've already showed you that anyway. But it's kind of just enhancing it. Hand of Gul'dan is just so much more fun. We're summoning huge, monstrous demons that, we've never been able to do before on that level. And it's just making us do more damage and enhancing our spells. I really think it is absolutely amazing. I'm loving all of the Warlock hero talents so far. Do check out my channel if you want to see more, because I have done all of them, by the way. Now moving on to the consumables and also the enchants. So I'm starting off with the enchants here. So one thing you're going to notice is these Nerubian Gem Weavers. These are what you get in your vault every week to add sockets to your gear. And you can now add a socket to your head, wrist, and waist. You'll also see there's Magnificent Jeweler's settings. Basically, this is for adding sockets to your gear as well. In Dragonflight, you could add or have up to 3 sockets on your neck. But now in the War Within, you can have 2 on your neck, 2 on each ring as well for 6. 6 Magnificent Jeweler settings. And I really like this change. Now looking at the enchants we're having, on our cloak, it's the Chant of Winged Grace, which is avoidance and fall damage protection. Crystalline Radiance on the chest is primary stat. Armored Avoidance is avoidance. Spell Thread, this gives on the legs intellect and stamina. Scout's March gives movement speed, and then we're going to add critical strike on both of our rings. Stonebound Artistry, this gives you a chance for, I think it's mastery. Oh my God, I've forgotten. Yes, it gives you mastery. I've nearly learnt them all off by heart. You can also go for the Authority of Radiant Power, which will just give you a flat intellect buff as well. So up to you on those two. On the consumables, I would go for the Flask of Alchemical Chaos. Basically, this is actually quite an interesting one. It's going to give you a massive amount of secondary stat. I think it's like 7,000 or something, but it's going to take off 600 of your other two secondary stats, and this will rotate every 30 seconds. You could also just go for a Flask of Tempered Versatility for a little bit less DPS, but more kind of overall survivability. The Everything Stew is an option on the food, giving you a secondary stat, or you can just go for the Feast of Divine Day or Midnight Masquerade, pretty much giving you primary stat instead. Tempered Potion, this is going to give you secondary stats as well. Algari Healing Potion is obviously your healing potion. Mana Oil gives you crit and haste. And then Crystallized Augment Rune, which are going to be very expensive, but it will give you a small amount of primary stat as well. Then on the sockets, we're going to be using a Culminating Blasphemite. Basically, what this does is it gives you primary stat, and then it gives you 0.15% critical strike effect per color of other gem you have. So if you've got one ruby, one sapphire, one emerald, and one onyx, you're going to get 0.6% critical effect. Whereas if you've got all rubies, you're only going to get 0.15%. So you need to use different colored gems. Once you've got one of each four, you can use like a Masterful Ruby on or Versatile Ruby. It doesn't really matter. You could use whatever you kind of want after that, depending on what secondary stats you're needing at that point. But I would probably sim your character at that point once you've got more than four, depending on the gear you get, to see exactly what stat would actually benefit you the most. But TLDR, make sure you've got at least one of each coloured gem on your gear so that your Culminating Blasphemite can get its full potential. Thank you so much for watching this guide. I hope it was really useful for you in The War Within Season 1, whether it was for Mythic Plus or raiding. If you do have any questions, I'll be happy to help. My Patreon is in the description below, and that is where you can find my LVUI profiles, which I'll show you in a second. And also, I'm putting together a huge macro list for every single spec that's going to be really useful for you in The War Within as well. I am doing all classes and specs for The War Within, so if you are new to the channel, then please do click this playlist here to check out what else I have, which is all of them. There will also be PvP guides on this channel as well for War Within Season 1, so make sure to look out for that. This here is the UI that I was referring to. As you can see, we've got target frames, etc., left and right, and raid frames go in the middle here, and then weak auras in the middle with an action bar down here. Chat is behind where my camera is. Minimap and details, etc., are here on the right. All of the plater profiles, the voodoo, the LVY, etc., details profile has all been made by me. And again, you can get this on my Patreon should you like it.